Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Oxnard City Council meeting for February 20th to order. Madam Clerk, roll call and posting of the agenda.
Councilmember Basua.
Here.
Councilmember Madrigal.
Here.
Councilmember Perello.
Here.
Councilmember Tehran.
Here.
Councilmember Valenzuela.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald.
Here.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on February 8th, 2024.
Please join me saluting our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is item C, and this is public comments on items out of the agenda. And I understand, Madam Clerk, that we have Carla Alejandra, who's going to be logging in.
Mayor Zaragoza, Carla is currently not available virtually or in person.
Okay, do we have any other people then, virtually or in person?
There are no public speakers virtually or in person for this item at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then we have item D. This is a report of the city manager. And the city manager, D1 is City Manager Department, Local Government Fun Facts, Comparative Cities Demographics, recommendation that the public and city council receive a city manager discussion about the Oxnard statistics and compared to other cities in the region. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That came upon fast. Okay, Diego, can we get the slide? Okay, so it's that time of year again. After we get this rain, expect the weed super bloom. That always happens when the weather warms up. So funny how people always find this to be so beautiful and we all drive out to see it, but we see the same thing in town and suddenly it's a problem. So I just want to let everyone know, after this much rain, we're going to get tons of weeds. We'll do our best to catch up to it. If you see it on public property, please report it. Use the 311 app. That's preferable. And we'll get to it as soon as we can. Don't freak out. Don't get outraged. Just report it. And then if you see this weed, please don't burn it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, that's it? Oh, my goodness. Jeez, I thought you were kidding. Okay, go.
Just with the super bloom of weeds, there's also a tremendous population of gophers that are coming to the surface. To be aware of that. In our landscape medians in the various neighborhoods, it's going to be a problem, if it already is.
Okay, so then our next item is D2. This is subject is severe storm emergency actions. And one, that the city council ratify that the director orders regarding the severe storms local emergency proclaimed by the director of emergency services on December 27, 2023, to ratify the city's council on January the 2nd, 2024, to reconsider the existence of local emergencies, and 3, find that the need to continue the local urgency. This is per our city council. And Mr. City Manager, we have some speakers to start, or Steve?
Speakers?
You want to hear the speakers first?
Sure.
Or your presentation?
Well, the presentation is brief. There's one director order that was signed by the director on February 13th that we're asking the council to ratify, and that concerns an extension of the suspension of street sweeping citations for vehicles rendered inoperable due to severe flooding for an additional month. And then that is the director order to ratify. And then items 2 and 3 are just to extend the existence of the local emergency, which has to be done under state law periodically, and this is the time to do it, because otherwise it would expire prior to the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. So before we have any council comments or a vote on this, we have some speakers. First speaker is Ignacio Morales Mendez. Ignacio? Is Ignacio here? You want Ignacio to come over?
The interpreter will speak for him.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ignacio.
Mr. Ignacio has asked the interpreter to speak for him because
Okay.
he has difficulty reading. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ignacio Morales Mendez. I live at 1917 Brookside Avenue. I am here today because on December 21st of 2023, my apartment got flooded. We had more than 14 inches of water. On January 3rd, the city of Oxnard tagged with a yellow tag our units, not allowing us to sleep there, and without giving us any kind of help or resources or telling us where to go. In this flood, I lost my bed, my electric wheelchair, and it's really important for me to have a chair that is working and also a stable roof where I can sleep because of my physical condition. The Red Cross has rented a chair for me until they find a permanent solution. I have lost medical appointments. I have put my health at risk because of that, and I cannot sleep because of the stress of not knowing where am I going to live while the apartment is repaired. I am 90% paraplegic. Any change of environment and routine is very difficult for me. I am living now in Ojai. Someone is allowing me to stay there for 2 weeks. So I have a roof over me, but I won't in 2 weeks. And because I am far away, I also do not have any help with my care and my personal needs. I am asking you to help me find a solution so that we could discuss this and the possibility of solutions. And thank you for your attention.
Mr. City Manager, we have the SBA loans are still, people are still around here in Oxnard. Ignacio, that's important that we get together with the SBA because they do have the opportunity to assist. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Right, that's still available, but it's online.
It's available
And we-
online, for assistance,
Yeah.
Ignacio. And maybe staff can get together with Ignacio and give him a hand on that.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add a
Go
quick comment.
ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
I've been in communication with the owners of the property out on Brookside, and they are in the process with SBA trying to get funding. They have not heard anything yet. They hope that they will be able to start repair work sometime this week.
You
and we're
hear that?
working with them.
Ignacio is not a candidate for an SBA loan.
Oh, he tried it already?
Ya lo traté
He
de
is not a
hacer.
candidate to apply for an SBA loan.
Because he can get a co-borrower too, you know that.
Ignacio is not a candidate to apply for an SBA loan. He doesn't
Okay.
meet the qualifications to even apply.
Did he try a co-borrower and so forth?
I don't believe so.
Okay, because there's an opportunity for that too.
He doesn't have the support for someone to be a co-borrower if he doesn't even have the support for someone to render him temporary housing.
Well, Mr. City Manager, I wonder how we'll have somebody maybe work with them. We'll have one of our staff work with them.
Wonderful,
Thank you so much. Next speaker is Gerardo Lopez Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez,
Mrs.
Lopez Rodriguez, is that you? Okay.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nereida Lopez Rodriguez. My mailing address is at the Marina Vista apartment complex that was flooded on December 21st, 2023. I call it my mailing address as it is not where I can currently call home. On January 3rd, my unit, along with 17 others, including over 50 people, were yellow tagged by the City of Oxnard's Code Compliance Department and deemed uninhabitable. The officer who placed the tags advised there was no help for a place to go, and if we wanted to stay, no one would go and check. I hope you can agree that that was unacceptable and an unacceptable and unprofessional comment, as we had just been told the units were not safe to live in. Since then, we have received little to no support from the City of Oxnard regarding our tenant rights or where to turn to for help. I've been advised there is no money in the city budget to help us with temporary housing, even though an order was passed to do so. We are not asking for free housing, simply help with finding something temporary and comparable to what we currently pay until our units are repaired. We have been unable to find month-to-month leases or short-term accommodations. We were advised that the best option would be SBA loans. With the 3% approval average as of the last city council meeting, I hope we can agree that is not a viable option. It is not a resource as it is additional debt. As a lifelong resident of Oxnard and registered voter, I have helped vote many of you into the positions that you hold today. When voting, I vote for candidates that I believe will uphold the community pride that your website boasts about. I love this city, and it disappoints me that there is no plan in place to assist us or any others affected by this disaster. I have sent multiple unanswered emails to our city manager and mayor asking for a meeting, and I am here today asking you again in person. I would like to meet with my assigned city council member, Mr. McDonald, city manager Nguyen, the City of Oxnard's Housing Department and the Marina Vista residents, and even our landlord, so that we can have a clear picture of what steps are being taken to protect your residents and educate both the landlord and us tenants in our rights. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, have you worked with Mr. Ramirez, Housing Authority?
No.
Potentially, maybe you might want to,
We have worked with Alba Marshall. She has been our only contact, and unfortunately, the response we get from Alba is we are working on resources for you. It's been over 8 weeks now, and it's been the same story.
because I know the mayor, no, we're not supposed to discuss, but I know that Mayor Pro Tem's been working with the landlord there, that Mayor Pro Tem, that was it over on Brookside, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so potential we can work with you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next speaker is Edwin Belan.
Good evening to all. My name is Edwin Balam. I live in the Marina Vista apartments with my family. As of now, 1931 Brookside Avenue is my address, as it is where we have all of our belongings. We have lived there for about 7 years. On December 21st, 2023, the storms brought an unprecedented amount of rain in my apartment. Unprecedented amount of rain. And my apartment, my neighbors, and many others were affected by the flooding that occurred. A couple of weeks after this disaster took place, the City of Oxnard placed a yellow tag on the affected apartments and told us we were only allowed to enter during the day, leaving us without a roof to sleep under at night. I'm a student at Ventura College. I also work there part-time as a student researcher. I'm hoping to pursue a career in mechanical engineering, and as you can imagine, this situation has not made that any easier. This situation has taken a mental, physical, and emotional toll on me and has affected my ability to focus on my education. It has taken a toll on my mental health and hurts me emotionally to see my parents stress over what the future holds for us and watching my brothers struggle with their own battles due to this disaster. My grandmother's condition hurts me the most, as she is fighting her own battle with cancer right now and wondering where we will all sleep next should not be something she should have to worry about. I know there are a lot of other families in Oxnard struggling at this time, and it makes me feel sad and disappointed that help has not come. I'm here today to propose some sort of city emergency response fund and an action plan to avoid other families having to struggle as we currently are. Due to the ever-changing climate, I'm inclined to think that this is likely to happen again. We have been left with no help or assistance due to no protocol or funding put in place by the city of Oxnard. Enabling this fund will help prevent people in a similar situation from going through the trials and tribulations we have endured these last 2 months. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Leticia, Leticia C. I can't, yeah, the writing's a little, okay. Coming up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Leticia. I also live on Brookside Avenue. And on the 21st, like, everything changed for us. Like, the flooding and everything, it's been like a toll on my whole family. I had to take my kids to therapy because of the separation. We have applied for so many things, and either your income is too high, and for other it's like too low, that you cannot even apply to get like a proper apartment because they're asking you for like 3 times more of what you make. But to qualify for something that the city can help or housing is like you have to make less than the money than what it is. Like I would say like 4,500. Like we were working with Alba and United Way, and that's all the response we have been getting. I applied for the SBA loan, and I was declined twice. No, they don't tell me why. Why am I being declined? Like, it's just nothing's happening. I think that there need to be a better plan. Like, if something like this happen again, like, I feel like there's a lot of homeless people because, like, when you look for help, there's no help at all. Like nothing, no help. Right now, I have my kids in one place, and I'm in another place. They have pets, and they're suffering because I can have them together with my kids. 2 of them are going to therapy because of the separation of us. Like we've been together like all the time, and just from one day to another one, from the 3rd of January, like we got separated and we're trying to find a place, but it's really hard to do it. Something compared that we have, and if we were to get a apartment, another like just for one room is like 1,800, but we need a bigger one because it's 6 of us. So we obviously need like a 3-bedroom one, and those are like $3,200 right now. 32, 33, like that's too much money. And if we try to apply for help, they say, okay, you don't qualify because you make too much money. We try to apply for the apartment, and they're saying, oh, you need to get more income because you don't qualify. So, like, I don't know where to go anymore. Like, where's the help? Like, nothing has been done. And we're not asking for free stuff. It's just as to help us find something that is comparable to whatever we had.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
listening.
Madam Clerk, any other speakers, either virtually or in person?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's one more speaker, Martha Polanco. She submitted a speaker card.
Oh, I don't see it here, but go ahead. Martha? Yeah, she's there.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marta Polanco. I live at Marina Vista Apartments. 1931 Brookside Avenue. Till today, that's my address. Because that's where my belongings are. On December 21st of 2023, our house got flooded. Also, our neighbors' homes. 18 families were affected. We lost everything, our cars, our furniture. Most importantly, we lost our home,
un techo donde dormir.
the roof over our heads.
El día 3 de enero, la ciudad por fin se presentó,
Finally, on January 3rd, the city showed up,
solo para ponernos una etiqueta amarilla
only to yellow tag us,
que dice que podemos estar en el día, pero no por la noche.
which says we're allowed to be there in the daytime, but not at night.
Así que teniendo vivienda durante el día, por la noche no tengo dónde dormir.
So I have a place to be during the day, but I have no place to sleep at night.
Esta semana empieza la remodelación de los apartamentos,
This week, the remodeling of the apartments is started.
dejándonos en la calle prácticamente.
We're now practically out in the streets.
En mi casa soy responsable de mis hijos,
I am the head of my household,
pero en especial de mi mamá de 75 años,
but especially in charge of my mom, who's 75.
que está batallando con cáncer
She's battling cancer,
y no puedo ofrecerle un lugar donde luchar con esta horrible enfermedad.
and I cannot offer her a place where she can battle this horrible illness.
Somos una familia trabajadora,
We are a hardworking family.
pero aún teniendo trabajo, estamos desesperados con nuestra situación.
Even though we have jobs, we have a desperate situation.
Nadie nos ha ayudado
No one has helped us,
para regresar a nuestra vivienda
so we can go back to our house
o para reubicarnos temporalmente en una vivienda.
or to temporarily relocate to a comparable unit.
Nuestros hijos y nosotros como adultos
Our children and us, the adults,
tenemos secuelas económicas,
have all these financial consequences,
emocionales y psicológicas.
both emotional and psychological.
Lo que sucedió el 21 de diciembre es
Wow.
un trauma
What happened on December 21st is traumatic.
que llevamos con nosotros.
It's something we carry with us.
Después de esta tormenta terminamos sin vivienda,
After the storm, we ended up with no place to live
ya que nadie se responsabiliza de esta situación.
because no one takes responsibility for this situation.
Ese día en 40 minutos
It was 40 minutes
que el agua entró en mi hogar
that the water came into my house
hasta que los bomberos llegaron
until the fire department came
y destaparon las alcantarillas.
and unclogged the sewer.
Nuestra vida cambió.
Our lives have changed.
Lo que estamos pidiendo
What we're asking for
es una vivienda temporal,
is just temporary
no
housing,
regalada,
nothing gifted,
algo comparable con lo que teníamos.
something comparable to what we had.
También pedimos una reunión con nuestro concejal,
We are asking for a meeting with our council member,
la oficina de housing,
housing office,
los vecinos
our neighbors,
y el dueño de los apartamentos
and the owner of the apartments,
para educarnos y para ayudar a buscar
so they can educate us so we can find solutions.
Thank you por escucharme.
Thank you for listening to me.
Gracias. Thank you. Any other speakers, Madam Clerk, either virtually or in person?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no additional speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, so we, council members, before we vote on this item, any comments on this item? If not, we need a motion, and this is on item D2. Oh, Councilman Perrello?
Motion to accept all of them, but I'd like to make a comment first.
Okay, Bert, okay, and go ahead. And then followed by Councilman Sharon.
First off, I want to thank the people that spoke. It takes a tremendous, I hope there's a translator translating it for these people. If they took the time to come in, there should be something they can hear. But number one, it takes a lot of courage to come up to that podium and talk. Some of you, it looks like, have never been there before. I give you all the credit in the world for coming up. But there's another aspect of this. You live in a community called Oxnard. We're not hearing about all that Oxnard has done for the residents that were impacted by these last two storms. I hope that we do hear about that. But the third thing is, even in today's newspaper, there's a note from FEMA regarding areas that are going to go potentially into a flood zone. With the recent storms and the way the river is running, you have SCR 1 and SCR 3. You also live in an earthquake area. If this were to happen, what is the expectation of the general public? Along with that, and as much as I dislike insurance companies, there is a requirement of personal responsibility.
Councilmember Lourdes, you want to translate from in Spanish here? Has he?
To get the equipment for them, but I can do it right now.
Okay. Oh, as he speaks, you go ahead, translate? Okay. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
So some of us are fortunate that it didn't happen to us, but I can tell the individual in the wheelchair, I have a brother-in-law in the same situation you're at. I know exactly what it means to lose your chair through him and seeing what happens and the quality of his life going down. The other ones, the parent, that's the sole responsibility for the family, and the mother, basically the grandmother, my hat is off to you. I'm sure there is something that can be done, but when there is a somewhat of a picture painted that the council and the city of Oxnard has done nothing, I believe that's not fair. It's not fair to the city, the members of this council, or the leadership of the city. And with that, I will support this action and make a motion.
Motion, Councilman Turan.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part?
Go ahead, last part. The city continues to help.
I don't know what I said. There seems to have been a picture painted that the city of Oxnard hasn't done enough for the residents who are impacted. I would hope that people will hear what the city of Oxnard has done. There is a part that comes in a picture painted that this council doesn't care. I'm not speaking for the other 6 members up here, but I feel in my heart, every one of us cares. The management, I know, cares. They're doing what they can. I see the look, some of them very angry looking at me. I'm sorry. I don't have the ability to personally fix your situation, but I would like you to realize this. We're in a situation where this could be, for the grace of God, me or anyone else sitting in this audience. Today, there are homes being red tagged in Los Angeles. There's a meaning behind red and yellow tags. And there's a definition of public health, safety, and welfare, all tied up into that.
Okay.
And I've moved the action.
Councilman Turan.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank the folks who came out tonight, residents of the Brookside Apartments. I know that Ms. Rodriguez, we have spoken on the phone a number of times over email, and I appreciate you and your neighbors coming out to advocate for getting whole again, being made whole again. And at the previous meeting, I believe when they highlighted the SBA loan information, one thing that I brought up, because I know it's happened in the district I serve, is regarding landlords applying for these loans. If they don't have liquidity to right away start work on the properties they manage or that they own, I feel like that's exactly one of the reasons that SBA offers it to businesses, which would include apartments and landlords, as well as residents. And it sounds like work has now started at your apartments, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm disappointed it didn't start several weeks back, and I hope that the landlord, if they are not yet aware, if they haven't done it yet, that they will apply, because I believe, just off the top of my head, they would be eligible for up to $200,000 in a loan that would have 12 months before they even have to make a payment, and it's no interest if they pay it prior to that. And I know that in the district I serve, in District 2, unfortunately, there was at least one instance of a landlord deciding to just sell the property and nobody gets to come back. And to see people displaced, completely have the rug pulled out from under them, is disheartening. And I'm glad that your landlord is at least moving forward with repairs. And I do ask, as the mayor asked earlier, that anything that our housing department or our city staff can do to connect with you, provide additional resources, especially for Mr. Morales Mendez. It's disappointing to hear what has not happened yet for so many of our residents. And so I hope that our housing folks and our staff listening now can connect with these folks to sit down and see what we can figure out is available, what they are eligible for, and what we are able to provide, but also what county resources are available. I mean, the first thing comes to mind regarding Mr. Morales Mendez. I mean, his mobility absolutely should be paramount and a priority in getting replacement found for him, as well as housing. And so we have county, state, city resources that I hope we exhaust to try and get everyone taken care of, but especially someone who is especially vulnerable. So the last thing I want to ask is, can we just have the city attorney or staff repeat what it is we're voting on so it's clear and it's an extension of a number of things we had passed at a previous
Yeah, we're
meeting?
voting on the, one, to ratify the orders regarding the severe storm local agencies per number one here. And also number two, reconsider the existence of local emergency. And three, find that there's a need to continue local emergency. Number three.
Okay.
But let me-
So Mayor, if I could, just to make it clear on number one, the ratification of director orders, the resolution that was prepared after the agenda went to print is a resolution of the City Council ratifying a director order issued by the Director of Emergency Services suspending street sweeping citations for vehicles rendered inoperable due to severe flooding until March 11th, 2024.
That was not here, but okay, thank you.
So that, yes, so that's why I'm reading it into the
Okay,
record
thank you.
that that's what that is. And again, that was Director Order 24-04 that the city manager in his role as the Director of Emergency Services signed last week.
Okay, thank you. And let me, before I hand it back to Councilor Perello, I'd like to direct our housing director, Mr. Emilio Ramirez, to get together with those folks and see what we can do temporarily so we can help you out. Mr. Emilio Ramirez, señor, va a ir al señor Ramírez que se junte con ustedes a ver qué podemos ayudarle inmediatamente. Okay, thank you.
And
Councilor-
excuse me. I was just going to say, I'll second Councilmember Perello's
You want to
motion,
second?
but he has another comment, but I will second it.
You want to second that? Thank you. Councilor Perello.
Yes, I forgot to say this. When we had the emergency preparedness person come and talk to us on a video, he explained to us multiple times, if you are denied your application, to continually to reapply. He said it multiple times. I'm sure when you meet with whoever you're going to meet with the city, they can find that link, you can find it, and you can hear for yourself. So you don't have to believe me. They told us, apply multiple times. It's a process, you got to go through the process.
Don't give
Nothing
up.
happens overnight.
Don't give up.
Don't give up, exactly as the mayor said.
Okay, so thank you so much. Muchas gracias por venir. So we have first Councilor Perello and second by Councilor Turan on item D2. Please vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is item E. This is the City Council Housing Authority.
Excuse me, Mayor Zaragoza, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I got a message from Carla Alejandra that she never got an email confirmation for public comment for items not on the agenda. I was hoping if the city clerk can send an email to her email address, and if she's able to sign in later.
So
if she could
I called her,
She never got an email address to.
Is she online now then?
I don't know. She said she never got an email confirmation for the Zoom.
Because
That's what she told me.
I called her and we have a,
My apologies, but okay, just wanted to give that record. Thank you.
is she available to speak now?
I am not sure.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and continue.
Excuse me, Mayor?
That was items not on the agenda.
Yes, she does not provide an email. She always lets us know that she's going to be available through Zoom. She dials in directly and that her name would pop up. However, she did not dial in at the time that we were asking for public comments.
Okay,
thank
sorry.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
so much.
welcome.
So I did, but we did call her, okay.
And we
This is-
did call her name at the time that we were receiving public comments on items not on the agenda, and she was not logged into Zoom.
Not available. Thank
She
you,
was not
Madam Clerk.
available.
Okay, item E, this is a time for city council members to bring any items or brief announcements regarding their activities, and also if they'd like to place any items for future agendas. And 3 minutes, please, and we'll start off with Councilman Turan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, I attended the River Park Neighborhood Council meeting, and I believe it was their first meeting of the new calendar year. And they had a couple of routine items, an update from their beat officer, and we had the special districts staff out there to talk about the community facilities district. And I appreciate the neighborhood council chair and the residents who came out. Those are always informational meetings. I find myself taking a lot of notes at those particular meetings. Secondly, the special districts folks are going to be holding a budget meeting for the River Park community. They'll be held tomorrow, Wednesday, the 21st at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It'll be virtual through Google Meets, and folks can connect with the River Park Neighborhood Council Chair or with special districts on receiving that link. If they don't have the contact info for those folks, they can email me, gabe.teran, T-E-R-A-N, at oxnard.org, gabe.teran@oxnard.org. I'll be happy to connect them with the link to that meeting. And that meeting will be going over the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year for their CFD, for their Community Facilities District. Residents will have the opportunity to learn that, provide direct input, and help shape how they'd like to see their Community Facilities District funded in the coming fiscal year. And I believe that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you,
Excuse me, Councilman Tarrant, this is a public meeting?
Yes, sir, this is a public meeting.
Thank you. Just want to let the people know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Madrigal.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, I will be speaking at the Rose Park neighborhood meeting at the old library there. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Sewell? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Today was my LoSAN meeting day. I wasn't able to attend because it was in Orange County, and I had another commitment here that I felt I needed to be at. But they did vote me back in as the chair of that agency for another year. And last week, I participated in the Coast Rail Coordinating Council, which is a rail group in Central California that runs anywhere from Santa Cruz to Pebble Beach area in terms of rail activities. So most of us are still suffering and feeling the effects of COVID, but we are finally starting to see a ridership increase and see transit come back into play with the economy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Perrella.
Again, thanks to all the people that came and spoke tonight on the issue that near and dear to their heart. Probably a lot of you have seen the water coming down the Santa Clara River. And I mentioned earlier about the FEMA and the Santa Clara River Levee 1 and 3. Those are levees that protect portions of Oxnard. And those are being worked on. It's a long, drawn-out process. SCR 3 is closest to being completed. But the main point that I want to bring to your attention, the United Water Conservation District is having an election coming up. Multiple seats are available on that body. One of the issues that I see, the water coming down the river right now is extremely muddy. They call it turbidity. There's a lot of silt in the water. They cannot take the mud and put it in the spreading grounds, which if you drive into River Park, you'll see it's an entire lake. If you drive on Rose and Los Angeles Avenue, you'll see the amount of water that's spread. It's clear water. The water is taken, it's called harvested off the river at the Freeman Diversion, goes into what are called settling ponds. It allows the water to slow down, and gravity causes the silt to drop out of the water and fill up the settling ponds. The previous storms and last year, the settling ponds, because water was released throughout the year, have had a difficult time cleaning the settling ponds out. There could, and I repeat, could be an issue in the future with the respect of not being able to harvest water because we don't have the ability to have settling ponds to keep the silt out of the water going into the spreading grounds. There are 3 processes: a harvesting of the water, a Freeman diversion, which stops the water, comes onto settling ponds, and then there's percolation ponds. The percolation ponds have to have clear water. The reason they have to have clear water is the silt will plug up the ability for the water to get into the groundwater, which is what you drink when you get out of the tap after the city's pumped it up and treated it so at a quality that you can drink it. Again, there's seats available in the United Water Conservation District Board. I hope some people who live in those districts take a look at it. I did have an opportunity to go to a different district. I was asked to attend by people that I know close, the Rio Lindo Neighborhood Council. Very good. They got a new board, very good discussions, and I was able to go to the Villa Marina. They were one short of a quorum, but again, very good discussions. And again, I know it takes a lot of credit, and it takes a lot to come to a council meeting and say something for the first time. The second time and the third time is much easier if you want to continue. But thank you for what you've brought up.
Councilman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Zaragoza. So the first thing I want to state that there's actually going to be a I Love My Park festival at South Winds Park this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's the advertising music, food trucks, youth activities free for the youth, and plenty of opportunity to meet your neighbors. I hope folks are able to make that meeting. Two, people should have received their ballots in the mail. Hopefully, people vote early and they'll get their ballot counted ASAP. The last day to vote is March 5th. And then, is that right? March 5th. Yes, March 5th. And the third thing I wanted to mention was I was approached by some Environmental Voices Academy youth from the organization called Sea Frog. They asked me to bring forward a resolution dealing with oil wells and the 3,200-foot setback, and I can bring that forward to send that to the staff after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure if you folks read the paper the other day. In fact, it was Monday, and we have a hero here in Oxnard. Oxnard heroic Gunny lives on via a workship. This young man, his name was John L. Canley, an Oxnard heroic hero, a longtime Oxnard resident, and a Marine hero who received the Medal of Honor by President Trump at the time. He died a couple of years ago, and there was a naval warship that's newly commissioned called the USS John L. Canley over at Naval Air Station North Island in Coronado and San Diego. He was a man that apparently was a Marine. There was Alpha Company, the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. So in January 1968, outside of the Hue City in Vietnam, he was outnumbered by thousands of enemies. They were throwing bombs and thousands of other mortars. And his captain at the time was wounded, and he took over, thus saving a tremendous amount of men here in Vietnam, many years. He was our own hero here in Oxnard, and just recently had a USS John L. Conley, a naval airship, and over in San Diego commissioned after him. So I just want to share with you, and it was a really great, I'm not sure if people can see it, an article that came out in the paper the other day, a resident from Oxnard, which I think is extremely important that we honor those individuals. I just wanted to share that with you, that we're very proud of our service people, and I know I come from a family of military folks that have served our community, but I just wanted to share with you that he's one of our heroes from Oxnard. So thank you. Councilman Perla.
And if I could just share with the public, we have, as council members, this council member, and I'm sure everyone else, because it went, I believe, to all of them, have been asked sometime in the past couple of months, 3 months, to consider naming a park after this individual.
Thank you for that, Councilman Turan.
Thank you, Mayor. My apologies, just a quick 30 seconds. I believe that a number of council members and the mayor and members of the public were invited by Mr. Marvin Booz and Mr. Michael Mercurio from Neighborhood Pride for a cleanup they're holding this Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon on Victoria between Doris and Gonzalez Road. So that's on Victoria between Gonzalez and Doris. And they're inviting folks to come out and volunteer. to help with cleanup along that stretch. So just wanted to share that. Again, 9 a.m. to noon, Victoria, between Gonzalez and Doris. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is E1. This is City Clerk Department. This is appointment of a member to serve in the city's mobile home park rent review board. Recommendation that the mayor, with approval of the city council, approve Yukio Okano as an at-large member for the mobile home park review. Council members, in motion? Well,
Mayor
Any
Zaragoza,
speakers?
there's no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
okay, no speakers.
Second.
Moved by Councilman McDonald, Mayor Pro Tem, and second by Tehran. Please vote. Oh, Councilman Perrello?
After.
Okay.
Motion carries 7-0.
Any additional comments on this item? Go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to thank the individual for stepping up, and I'd like to thank the city clerk's office for keeping this in line. My understanding is the planning commission has had a series of absences, and according to the rules of the road, if you're gone so many times, the seat has to be refilled. I think that needs to be looked into. And I know there was a Measure O person that resigned off the board, so there's another vacancy, and I hope that we can get those up and running to serve the community of Oxnard as best as possibly can. And any other committees that are shorthanded.
Okay, did we vote on this item? We voted. Okay, thank you. Okay, our next item is, this is the review of the consent agenda items, and we have items 1 to 7. But item number 1, the city clerk, I'd like to read a little revision on that item, Madam Clerk. And this item H1, there was a vote of 5-0 to 1, where Councilmember Tehran recused himself, and Councilmember Madrigal was absent. And then item K4, that was 5-0 to 1, Mayor Pro Tem McDonald recused himself, and Councilmember Madrigal was absent. Those are the changes. Anything else, Madam Clerk?
You got it right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Okay, so
Council.
I just wanted to revise that, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 1 to 7 items. Councilman Perrello,
I have a request on number 5.
number 5, go ahead.
With the various things that are going on with financing and because of the individual that's tying the city of Oxnard up and the ability to spend money through bond proceeds, I think it's important for the residents to find out what happens and what the plans are for the funding sources that we do have. And we have a report on this item, the status update on the accomplishments of the current Measure O projects that the city council received and filed a report. I'm hoping we can have somebody give a short update on where we are, where we stand, so
Okay.
people can know.
So the, Cherie's not with us today, or? Is she on, okay, Cherie, go ahead. Go ahead, Cherie, can you give us some more information?
I'm on, but if you're asking council member for an update on the lawsuit, is that what you're asking on, or?
I beg your
about?
pardon, just on the item itself, update on status and accomplishments of current Measure O projects. Period. No lawsuits.
An update of,
I guess I'm not understanding. You want me to update you on all the projects? You want me to go through the update?
The recent ones that were just finished with the Measure O project, with the Measure O meeting, there was things, I believe, with communications. Or if you can, go through and update the public on what Measure O is doing. Because there could be a possibility that we need to re-implement Measure O.
Well, we have multiple projects going on in Measure O right now, and I can certainly go through those. And later on in the agenda, we'll be asking for the funding for new projects, such as the report that you were mentioning.
Mayor?
yeah, there's a report on that. Go.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Councilmember Perrello's request in the staff report does have a fairly comprehensive list
there's
with
a-
updates. And I'm wondering if there are specific ones that are itemized on that list that maybe he might particularly want an update on, or just if we can narrow it down, because they're not only listed out, but also subcategorized within that list.
And I agree, Councilman Turan, and I do know it's a detailed list, very thorough, and unfortunately, I cannot tell you how many people watch the Measure O meetings. And I cannot tell you how many people read the staff reports on these consent agendas, but I do know that when it comes to, if the Measure O, when it does expire and those funds are gone, a lot of those very same people are going to be asked the question, where were you when it came time to decide on these things? If this is going to take a little too long, I'll pass to another time.
So maybe what, okay, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Councilmember Perrello, I just want to remind you, attached at the end of the staff report is a copy of the Measure O annual report that was mailed to all city households. So we were, and by the way, that's required by Measure O itself. So that information did go out to all of our households.
Okay, so we have items 1 to 7, and of course, we also have including the revisions of the city clerks.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Any speakers on this item?
there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, so we need Councilman Turan, go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, I'm willing to move that we accept the consent agenda with the corrected minutes.
Okay, and we need a second.
Second.
Arthur, second? Okay. Roll call? Oh, I'm sorry, first by Valenzuela and second by Arthur. Turan, second by Valenzuela.
Mayor, I have a motion by Councilmember Turan and a second by Councilmember Valenzuela.
Yes, correct. Please
If I
vote.
could please get your vote. Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. So our next item is reports. It says I-1, City Manager, Citywide Wayfinding Program and Program Approval. A recommendation, City Council, 1, approve the Citywide Wayfinding Program and authorize a prioritized implementation plan. 2, approve an agreement 324000391 with Found Design LLC for the amount not to exceed $65,000 for design, development, engineering, and construction administration for the wayfinding program. And 3, approve an agreement 324000388 with Adora Group Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $119,000 for the project construction management services for the wayfinding program. The Community Service, Public Service, Housing and Development Committee approved this item 3-0 on January 23rd, 2024, to approve the staff recommendation and to go forward with the item to the City Council. And we do have a live presentation by Oxnard Convention and Visitors Bureau, President and CEO Julie Buffo, and also Found Design LLC Merling Design Consultant John Busso. And again, this was a presentation under Measure M, and we do have Julie.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Zaragoza, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, and City staff. My name is Julie Buffo with Visit Oxnard. And I'm so sorry, I would just be remiss if I didn't say that I'm so heartfelt for what you were going through. I actually lost my apartment in the Thomas fire, so I understand the confusion and the just the hard things to navigate. So I'm going to reach out to some of my personal contacts that helped me, and I will get your information through the council.
Thank you, Julie, thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I had to let them know that.
It's very emotional, thank you.
So, on June 28th, 2022, our organization entered into an agreement with the City of Oxnard to utilize American Rescue Plan Act tourism recovery funds for the purpose of developing a comprehensive citywide wayfinding system. Since then, Visit Oxnard has worked closely with the City Manager's Office to onboard Merge Design to design and implement the program. Merge Design is also the contractor for Mayor Zaragoza's Gateway program, ensuring continuity between these initiatives. For the past 18 months, we have worked closely with stakeholder groups from throughout the community to ensure the wayfinding program would be designed in a manner that is representative of the character and culture of our destination. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce MERGE Design Principal John Bosio to present the wayfinding program here tonight. And he is on video. He'll be guiding you through the PowerPoint.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. My name is John Bosio with MERGE, and I'm going to give you a review of the wayfinding program. As Julie mentioned, we've been working with a steering committee. These are some of the representatives that have been part of that, including City of Oxnard staff, as well as some of the attractions and stakeholders within the city. And then there was also a broader group of stakeholders that gave us input throughout this process, both on the design and planning efforts of where signs go and what they should say and that sort of thing. Just as a reminder of what's out there, it's an older system with an old logo on it. These are the signs that in most cases we replace that are the directional signs. There is a plan in the future that the system could go with the street signs as another effort. But the parking signs and directional signs, that's really the crux of this particular project. We've gone through a design process where we presented 3 design options, which were reviewed by the steering committee and stakeholders. The selected design is being presented tonight. And as was mentioned earlier, it is coordinated with the Gateway program as well. We've also done some preliminary sign planning, which was reviewed by the steering committee and stakeholders. And that includes secondary gateways, vehicular signs, pedestrian signs, kiosks, and parking. Our next steps are to continue with a Caltrans review. We'll do in-field survey of the locations and then documentation, engineering, and ultimately for bidding and implementation. As a note, MERGE does not fabricate or install signs, so we are the designers and planners, and this will go out to bid. The priority 1 sign types are the secondary gateways and vehicular directional signs. So these are this is the design. There's traffic engineering criteria that requires us for lower speed roads, which are 4-inch high copy, which is what you see at the top. And then on higher speed roads, we have 6-inch high copy, and we have a maximum of 3 messages that we can utilize. We're not using a logo that would date the program. We have a very specific typeface that is consistent with the Gateway program. And we do have a finial cap, as well as you can see the backs of the signs there. Again, these are the larger high-speed road signs on the left, and then this downtown where you get into lower speeds. You have the 4-inch high copy. You have a more decorative base in the downtown as well. And these are just some quick renderings of those signs and how it wraps around the pole. And this is just an example. There's an existing sign out there now where we dropped in the new sign. And then there's also gateway signs. So in addition to the 4 primary entry points into the city that are part of the Gateway project, there are a series of secondary and boundary markers. We have 3 different sizes that we're looking at. A lot of that will get determined once we go out into the field and decide and see what can fit in different situations. Again, here's another rendering of that. Our priority 2 is pedestrian, directional, and kiosks. These mainly fall in the downtown and the harbor area. You see the kiosks where we could have directional information, but also have event and map orientation for the kiosks. And this is just a quick rendering of that as well. And priority 3 would be parking directional signs and parking lot identification. There's a lot of parking lots in, especially around the downtown area. These signs would direct you to those parking areas and then identify the entrance to those surface lots as well as parking garages, and that is priority 3. As I mentioned, we have gone through a preliminary review of sign locations. We've come up with a list of destinations with the steering committee and stakeholders. It's truly a community wayfinding program with the types of destinations that we're directing to parks and recreation, cultural institutions, historic sites, transportation. And we've started to look at the entryways in, first looking at the entryways from those primary gateways and then looking at the secondary ways in as well. So we've put together the sign location plans, which the steering committee and stakeholders have reviewed, given us great feedback in sort of making adjustments. Our next steps, as I mentioned, would be to go out into the field and look at each location with city staff and make decisions on final placement of signs. That would then go into a documentation package where we would issue it for bid. So again, those next steps are the Caltrans review, the field survey of locations, documentation, engineering, and then bidding and implementation. So with that, we will take
Thank
any
you, John.
questions.
Julie, any additional comments? I just, as you come up, I just want to thank the steering committee and also the stakeholders for excellent work. You know, I think it's important that when people drive into the city that they either want to go to the beach or they want to go golfing or downtown, or at least they can follow the signs, which I think is really extremely important. So I
Definitely.
think I just want to thank the steering committee and the stakeholders. There was a lot of stakeholders there that really worked.
Yeah, there was.
Helping out. So.
Well, we're here for questions. John, of course, is on the phone, and Brittany Hendricks is here, who has been our point person at Visit Oxnard, as well as on your Gateway Committee, so she can help answer any questions that the council may have.
Councilman Turan.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation and all the information. I do have a couple of questions regarding just wayfinding program in general, and then specifically this one before us. And so my first question, just in a general sense, can we explain kind of the general benefits of such a program to a city, and why we would undertake this? And I know this goes back to our American Rescue Plan funds, but I'll get to that in a second. But can we just talk about the benefits that such a program has and why a city might choose to seek something like this?
Sure. So John can probably fill you in a little bit more detail, but this was part of the tourism recovery funds from the American Rescue Plan Act that were approved by City Council about 18 months ago. And these types of programs are really instrumental in driving traffic into different sectors of the community to drive business and economic development throughout town. And there's actually a downtown improvement organization that has identified these types of programs as one of the primary drivers for that kind of economic growth in downtowns.
Yeah, I would add that, at its core, a wayfinding program, especially a community wayfinding program, is really building an awareness of the things that you can do while you're in Oxnard, not only at that moment, but in the future as well. So it drives that return or repeat visitation and really builds on the equity of the assets that you have within your community. So that's really the main thing that you will find from a wayfinding program.
Thank you. And that actually is helpful to know, and I think that it's important for folks to recognize it's one of those things you probably can't unsee once you see it, because I think it's the Las Posas exit heading into Camarillo from the southbound 101. That's the Las Posas exit. There's a sign that says Channel Islands University. And I mean, that's miles and miles away, but it's a general kind of marker to give someone a sense for where they are and where they were heading if they were looking for that destination. I think likewise in Thousand Oaks, maybe it's the Lynn Road exit where it points towards CLU. And again, miles and miles down the road, but it does orient a person and let them know of a significant marker. And I'm sure there are a number of other ones in that city, but in our city specifically, I can think of ones that point towards downtown, towards our civic center or the performing arts center, towards the beaches, et cetera. And of course, they, as was mentioned in the staff report, date back a couple decades, some of them. But I appreciate the explanation on what the benefits might be and why a city might seek such a program. I'm wondering also, and I think the question's probably answered through the presentation we saw, but do we have some type of design or efforts that are done to mitigate vandalism? Because these are really nice looking signs, and I'm a firm believer in murals and what they bring to a community, especially community sourced murals. And something like this may look very nice, but some folks from the community may not see it as something that is, sourced from the community like a mural might be. And so, if they have easy to clean surfaces, or I noticed when some of them are like 7 feet high, I imagine prevention through design is probably playing into that. But I'm wondering if we have thoughts on that, or if there are kind of industry standards on that.
Yeah, I believe that John's team uses a graffiti-resistant surface, but John can elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So all the painted surface get an anti-graffiti coating, and all the vinyl has an anti-graffiti clear sheeting on top of it. So that's just a standard specification that we utilize throughout the country on these types of signs. Believe it or not, we found over time that stickers, more so than graffiti, are what you tend to see, and that's just simple maintenance with like a glue on or similar removal. But yeah, it's all. We will also, as part of our contract, put together a maintenance manual along with the fabricator or selected contractor, so that the city staff will have a reference manual once the signs are installed.
Thank you for that. And I know that this is just maybe a half step beyond tonight's item, but when we do get to the gateway projects, I know there are potential for murals in that, and I would love to have community-sourced murals and ideas and input come from that, including our youth who are artistically minded and may need an outlet and appreciate being included in that. So my next item here is regarding the funding source, and you already had mentioned it, with this being our American Rescue Plan funds. And these were one-time funds, a one-time funding source from the federal government for economic and, in this case, tourism recovery from the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So if the question comes up, well, how can we afford to pay for new signs throughout the city when we have ABC, XYZ, issues, potholes, et cetera? Well, these were meant for this particular type of purpose, and this is how, through a public process and public meeting, we landed on this. That being said leads to my last point. I appreciate the first slide that was up there, because it was very transparent in showing that over time, we have had a number of different designs and consistencies in our signs and our wayfinding program that dates back a couple decades. And off the top of my head, I was trying to take notes. I think we have a different central business district type of sign. In our downtown area, we have different signs in like the Colonia and Wilson neighborhoods, which are older brown signs with yellow font. And even those brown signs, I think on G Street and 2nd Street, I think those two signs, one right on top of the other, have different fonts on them. And even though they're the same color sign, same design. And that's probably making me sound really geeky right now, but that's something I noticed. Thank you. But there's that. Some of our neighborhoods have those older brown signs, where other neighborhoods have the newer blue and purple signs with the newer logo. And I think with consistency and with a unified message and a unified look, that it will change the look of the city, even if it's in a very transparent way where people don't know it, but they sense there's a difference there. So I appreciate folks bringing that up early on in the presentation. So thank you for this information. Those are all my questions and my comments.
And by the way, just for information, in the past, I know that the street division has really worked on trying to work on the fonts for the street signs, or because we have thousands of the street signs, which I think is extremely important. And also, again, we are working on our potholes, which this is something different. Mayor Pro Tem?
You said we're working on potholes, or?
Well, he mentioned a bit about potholes.
Well, I call them inverted speed humps, but that's okay.
And they do a lot of damage, too.
Yeah. I just want to say just so everyone knows, this is one of the external groups that I work with, and I'm proud to be part of that group. And I have no financial interest in this. I get no benefit from it, other than I get to work with a lot of really talented, intelligent, and just pleasant people. So you're all doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers on this item? Additional speakers?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Councilman Perillo?
Yes, I do appreciate the presentation. I have one thing. There was a comment about youth and art and stuff like this. The concern that I have is, as Councilman Turan has mentioned, the security and safety of these signs. In the design of these things, will they at least be put up high enough so it's not extremely easy for somebody to graffiti them? We do have a group of individuals that live in our community. I don't believe they come from the outside. They're homegrown, that they don't have a problem vandalizing or destruction of public property. And it is like a fly in a milk bottle. You can see it from a mile away. And we have staff, the GAC team, Graffiti Action, trying to clean it up. And I did appreciate the individual talking about the surface and the texture, and it can be cleaned. I have seen other communities where that worked out, and I've seen other communities where it didn't. It just left a big smear. And I'm concerned about the height and that. The last one I just wanted to mention, because we do have our Public Works people here. With the rains, we do get potholes. Our Public Works is doing a hell of a job, a hell of a job. And if they want, the general public wants to see somebody who's in a situation where we used to be, take a drive to Ventura or Santa Paula, even some portions of Camarillo. They got potholes I can lose my car in.
That's right.
Thank you.
Sure, I can address the height issue. There is a engineering criteria that we have to meet of 7 feet to the bottom of the panel. We actually put it at 7'6" to get it up even a little bit higher. So that is the requirement regarding height. So that does make it a little bit more difficult to reach.
Thank you. And just one other comment. I did see the various points of interest, and I do see some of them appear to be in the county. Is the city going to be paying for signs that will go in the county? That's one question. I have another one coming up.
Sure. I don't believe the city is paying for it because it's American Rescue Plan Act funds, but the city approved them.
Okay. The second question, oftentimes people try to talk about something important or historic in the community. There's a segment of the community that takes great pride that Cesar Chavez lived in Oxnard.
Yes.
At one time, somebody was going to say, why don't we notice that site? And just food for thought, maybe some other councilman wants to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Brittany, thank you, and Julie and John, and Samantha, you want to share anything? I know you.
Thank you. Just to Councilmember Prello's point, we also in the documentation phase will be working closely with Public Works to make sure that all of the sign facing meets what they can maintain so that we don't pick something that they are not able to maintain well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so we need a first and a second. First, motion. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Basua. Please vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Julie, and so forth. Okay, our next item is item I-2. This is Oxnard Convention and Bureau Agreement, July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2030. Recommendation the City Council approve the agreement 324-00300, a 5-year agreement totaling $1,691,000 between the City of Oxnard and Oxnard Convention Visitors Bureau. And also the Community Service, Public Service Housing Committee approved this 3-0, and there was a Measure M presentation. And we do have any speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Any questions, council members? We do have Ashley Golden for any additional questions. If not, I need a motion. Motion by Madrigal, second by Perrello. Please vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next item, item 3, Information Technology Department, subject Oxnard 311 Performance Report. Recommendation the City Council receive an update on the year 7.5 of year 8 performance of Oxnard 311 Constituent Relationship and Management System. The Community Service, Public Service, and Housing Department Committee, approved this 3-0 on January 23rd, 2024. And this is a pre-record item per Measure M, and we do have Mr. Robert Rubin for the additional information in this item. Council members, I know that we had a good discussion, Mayor Pro Tem with your committee on this item, and the 311, I think, is doing an excellent job, for the constituency, and a motion in this item. Excuse me, Madrigal? Tehran, go ahead.
Quick comment. I got a call from a friend today who actually text message who said she'd been calling 311 to report something and nobody was answering, it wasn't working. We don't have a 311 phone number here in Oxnard. If you want to use 311, you have to use it via the app on the phone or via the internet.
But I got the same, and Cherie took care of it, She's the one that contacted. It was, we had a phone concern that we potentially did fix 311. It was fixed. Councilor Tehran.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do have to say that I really love data and wading through it and seeing how it can guide the work that we do as a city. And I don't pick favorites. These are all important items that come to us at every meeting, but I certainly look forward to the annual 311 update. And so I hope that our deputy city manager and our IT director are there smiling at that comment, because I'm probably one of the few who look forward to this every year. I truly do. So just a quick thing, as was mentioned in the report and in the pre-recorded presentation, because we can't see it live tonight, a lot of metrics are put into the 311 system, and I hope the public knows that when something's reported, it gets logged into the system, it's put onto somebody's radar, to a respective department or to a place where it's going to be directed to the proper place. And then a clock starts ticking as far as when that is received, when it's addressed, and when it's completed. And the agenda report and the pre-recorded video really lay out very well that information. And for example, when we look at the number 1 item, which was illegal dumping, you can see there that the metric, the goal is 3 days to have those addressed, and we have an average of those being addressed in 2.1 days in the first half of this year, in year 8. And you can go through the table and see all the increases in that. And when we started this program, the goal in year 1 was 3 days as well. The average is 4.4 days for us to get illegal dumping addressed. The following year was 8.6 days, but then it dipped down to 2.7, and it goes from there. And now we're at 2.1 days when the goal is 3 days to get it done. I have to say that as a avid user of the 311 app, it absolutely works. I push it to folks whenever I can, so they know that it's a great resource and they can use to get things done that they see happening throughout the city. And I have to give kudos and thanks to our IT director and our deputy city manager, but also to our public works team and our 311 team, the green team, because I report a lot of illegal dumping throughout District 2, but recently I reported some that I noticed in an alley, and it was picked up within a half hour. I think that's the fastest I'd ever seen it. And they were probably out in the area and received the report and saw that it was close to where they were geographically and went, but as a resident, it's great to see that action happened so quickly. And so I hope folks know that it absolutely does work. I'm impressed that it happens within 72 hours, but the fact that it could happen within 2 days, 1 day, or even less than a day, our team who does this work truly, truly needs a round of applause and thanks for all the work that they do. So I really appreciate that and wanted to publicly state it. And our graffiti program, as Councilmember Perillo mentioned, absolutely commendable on the work they do. And where their goal is also 3 days to get graffiti cleaned up when it's reported, this year, the first half of this year, they're at 1.9 days of an average cleanup time. And so almost half of the stated goal there. So the report has all of the different things you can see on there. One thing that I would like to request, and I know I've spoken with our environmental resources folks and our public works folks about this, perhaps on the 311 section for trash service, perhaps we could look at the possibility of adding an option for lid and container replacement, where if you have a broken lid or a broken container, that's an option you can choose, and then take a picture of your container or lid, put in your address, and then that will be responded to by one of the folks who monitor the system. So just a question for consideration on that. So again, thank you to everyone for 311. Oh, one last thing. It broke on my phone recently, and if that happens to you, it would randomly kick me out of the app. And I thought at first maybe they were saying, okay, that's too much. You've done enough 311. Leave some reports for other people. But I realized it was the app itself and the functionality, and I had to uninstall and reinstall it. And that solved the issue. And I thank our IT staff for helping me with that as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Those are my
Thank
comments.
you. And Councilor Perillo, and then followed by the city manager.
Councilman Turan's idea about the app for the broken lids is a good idea, very good idea. With respect to the 311, just some feedback for the council and staff. When I do attend neighborhood council meetings, I ask, a show of hands, how many people have 311? The numbers of people that come to the meetings, and mind you, the people that come to neighborhood council are interested in their community and for the most part, city of Oxnard. You're getting a lot of positive feedback from residents, and they're also getting on the other residents there that don't know about 311. So it's a very good program, tremendous. The one thing Councilman Turan mentioned, the illegal dumping. Ladies and gentlemen, the illegal dumping is not coming from people from Wainimi, Ventura, Camarillo. It's not coming from Santa Paula, Fillmore, Moore Park. It's coming from our residents in Oxnard, and it's costing us a lot of money. Figure what we could do with the money if we didn't have to pick all this stuff up. I hope that we can have some more, we're doing a good job of cleaning it up, but I hope that we can catch some people and we can make examples out of the people we catch that are doing this. And I see a head nodding. I want to thank you very much, because a lot of people don't want to be having people say, hold them accountable. But when somebody drops 2 mattresses, a refrigerator, and a desk, and a pile of whatever God knows what's in plastic bags along a street in a neighborhood, that's not cool. Thank you very much.
And by the way, before I go to city manager, I just want to thank the police department. So every time I go to a neighborhood council meeting, the beat officer or the officer there always says, call 311 if you need any help, whether it's illegal dumping or vandalism or whatever. But our police officers also mentioned that to every neighborhood council that I've attended, just for information. So thank you, Chief. Thank you, guys, on that. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Perillo made the point I was going to bring up, so I'll just summarize by saying, in the time that I've been here, the focus has been on our response time to 311 reports, but I think it's time to transition to focusing on why we're doing this. And there's staggering resources taken away from other possible services and programs to the community by cleaning up. When you look at the last 7.5 years, nearly 50,000 illegal dumping responses. 36,000 graffiti reports. It's just, we need to start thinking about how to prevent this. So we have some creative thinking to do. But a lot of cities do this, and it's necessary to a certain extent. But I think here in Oxnard, it's certainly overkill. So we need to think creatively now going forward, rather than focus on our response time, focus more on prevention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and this item is, any speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, so this is a receive and file update. Yes, sir. You want to make a motion?
No, I want to make a quick comment if I can.
Go ahead.
Another quick 1 minute, thank you. Thank you to Councilmember Perillo and our city manager on that. I'd be remiss if I didn't also point out, as I have in the past, that when you see full furniture sets and rolled up carpets left, I have to wonder how many of our landlords or folks who manage properties such as duplexes or apartments and have a tenant move out and then just leave the stuff. In District 2, it seems to me that when we have a residential alley, but we have things that tend to be found in apartments are found in that residential alley, I can't imagine tenants taking the time to roll up their carpets and take all of their furniture and move it to another neighborhood. And so education and prevention around our landlords and them taking initiative to properly dispose of those items at the dump or pay someone to do so should absolutely be a major part of that effort. And one last thing I'll say, and I'll thank again our Assistant City Manager, Ms. Golden, for this. When I came on board, we had a couple of problematic trash enclosures, commercial trash enclosures in the district that were real hotspots for illegal dumping. And we found that helping those folks who were responsible for those trash enclosures to secure them with locks or to build more secure enclosures with roofs and gated areas, that drastically reduced the illegal dumping that happened there. I travel them regularly, these hotspots, and they have been so reduced in the illegal dumping that it's night and day from when I first came on board. So there are a number of prevention efforts we have to do, and I hope we can include all sectors on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Item number 4, this is Public Works Department, subject First Amendment to Agreement A8281 with Kennedy Jenks Incorporated for construction management services for the Oxnard Wastewater Treatment Plant Reliability Improvement Project. Recommendation, the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a First Amendment to Professional Service Agreement A8281 with Kennedy Jenks Incorporated to increase and not to exceed $3,279,740 to $4,514,536 to extend the term from March 31, 2026 for additional construction management services for the Oxnard Wastewater Treatment Plant, the OWTP Reliability Improvement Project number C2201. This item did not originate in the committee, and this is a capital improvement project specifically listed in the City Capital Improvement Project, which was previously approved by the City Council. And this is was a pre-recorded item per Measure M, and we do have Michael. You're not Michael. Go ahead. Any questions, this young man here? Any speakers on the item to start off with?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Council member, okay, Councilor Perillo?
Just one question, and it's tremendous, you guys are doing a terrific work, and it's a needed work to be done with our plant. But with the fiasco that happened at the Port of Hueneme with the electric components that got flooded, or is there anything we can learn from that to benefit us so that we don't potentially get in a spot like that? Or have those choices and opportunities passed us in this project?
Thank you. Mayor, City Council, my name is Tim Beeman. I'm a supervising civil engineer, and I'm overseeing the engineers who are the managers of this project. And if you do drive down Perkins, you'll notice one of the more prominent structures that's being constructed is our new electrical facility. And you can see the first 4 feet of that are concrete that is lifted up for the potential of flooding and those things.
So the facility is actually lifted up. It doesn't just have a barricade around it.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Smart. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish Dwayne Eby would have done that. Thank you.
Councilman Turan.
Thank you. Thank you for that question to Councilmember Perello as well. My apologies, I didn't even consider that question. I think it's a great one. And not knowing off the top of my head our projected possible flooding that might happen, like in the case of a tsunami, is that what our engineering team saw would be a suitable height to have that facility lifted up to withstand that if that were to happen over near the Perkins facility?
Yes, through the design process, and this goes all the way back to our master plan that was done in 2016. That's what's considered when we do set those design parameters. And so they do look at a model that's done on the potential for king tides and things like that that could affect the plant.
All right, great.
And
Leave it
just
to the engineers to have it all figured out ahead of time. Thank you.
And just for information, Kenny Jinks has been doing work for the city for many, many, many years. You know, they're a well-experienced company.
Yes, the primary point of contact goes all the way back to when we did our Redwood trunk 20 years ago, which is one of the largest horizontal direct drills at that point in time. And they provide all the special inspection, the welding inspection, things like that. Something that some of our own staff is so specialized that they may not have that skill.
And they know our wastewater plant, from one point to the other, which I think is really important for all of us.
If they didn't before, they do now.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Councilman Perello.
Just a follow-up. And I appreciate Councilman Turan's question about the tsunami. If a tsunami, when they give you these hypotheticals, how high would the water come? Would it be over 4 feet?
So we look at it with tides, not necessarily a tsunami, because that would be an extreme
Okay,
case.
the reason I'm asking, because a tsunami, I'm thinking is going to be a hell of a lot more than 4 feet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, God forbid.
Yes, I mean, we kind of look at things of, what we can look at and plan for, knowing that there are some limitations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And
Thank you.
I appreciate Councilman Turan asking that question also. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need a motion on this item.
I'll move the recommended action.
Second.
First, Turan, second by Valenzuela. Please vote. Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item, item 5, is another Public Works Agreement 324003334 with J.I. Gandera Transport for supplemental waste transfer hauling service for Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. Recommendation, the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with J.I. Gandera Transport for an amount not to exceed $5 million for an initial one-year term with options to extend for 2 additional one-year terms ending March 1, 2027 to provide supplemental waste transfer hauling services for the Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station. The Public Works Department Transportation Committee approved this item 3-0 on January 23, 2004, and that's a pre-recorded item per Measure M. So any additional questions for Mr. Wolf or Eric for that matter? Any public speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
But Eric, I know that this is a supplemental trash hauling because that tipping fee has to be cleaned up every week or every day or whatever it is. Those are mandated items, so we need that additional supplemental transport whenever needed. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. Internal staff takes about 195,000 tons of material and transfers that material away from the facility. The material that comes to the tipping floor must be removed within a 7-day period. There are excess amounts of materials that do come to the site where there'll be a construction project or some other type of activity that then brings in additional tonnages that we aren't anticipating. And so the supplemental waste hauling contract allows us to exercise that over and above staffing option, and they do amount for up to about 100,000 tons a year.
And they're hauled over to Waste Management in Simi Valley.
That is correct.
Agreement that's not part of Agreement, right? It's just a supplemental transfer only, is that correct?
So Agriment is another facility that we do haul green waste material to. But the supplemental waste hauler is going to be primarily trash.
Trash, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so, Councilman Perrella?
I would just like to share with the council, I serve on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District, and in the staff report in 526, while the city does not currently contract with Tolan Road Landfill or Chiquita Canyon Landfill for solid waste, the staff is exploring this options in the case of an emergency. I'm sure you've been following along. The real problems they're having at Chiquita, just on the other side of the LA County, Ventura County line. It was reported to the Ventura Regional Sanitation District that landfill is still accepting waste daily, but that the extreme environmental issues that are going on are in the oldest part of the landfill. So it's not jeopardizing the entire landfill, but just to be aware, there's a serious problem in that area, having nothing to do with Oxnard. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention because they just told us last Thursday.
And council members too, that item was brought up, Eric and Michael and Mr. City Manager at the APCD the other day because of the odor coming out of Chiquita. But the one good thing about the whole thing, if there's a good thing, is the prevailing wind blows towards Santa Clarita and not over to Piru, which is unfortunate. But once in a while, if we do have Santa Ana wind, it would blow into the city of Piru, just for information. But APCD is working on that too for information. Okay, so we need a motion in this item? Oh, and no speakers on this item, right?
That's correct.
No speakers?
No speakers.
I'll move the action.
Moved by Councilman Perrella, second by Councilman Basua. Please vote. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0.
Our next item is item 6, Public Works Department ratification of grant application to the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Grant Program for the Campus Park project. Recommendation to City Council approve, 1, the ratification of submission of a grant application to the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Grant Program for the Campus Park Activation Support Project in the amount not to exceed $7 million with a 1-to-1 match required coming from the grant funds in the Campus Park Activation Project, Phase 1 Project C 2104. And 2, that the city manager or designee to execute a grant agreements. And 3, the financial director or designee to submit financial reports, grant claims, and approved budget appropriations for the use of grant funds. And 4, for the public works director or designee to submit non-financial reports. This item did not originate in committee, as it is for a special improvement project specifically listed in the City Capital Improvement Program budget, which was previously approved by the City Council. And this is a pre-recorded item, and we do have Michael Wolf for any additional items. Do you have any speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Is there any questions of Michael?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to declare a conflict because I live about 50 feet away from Campus Park.
So you're going to recuse, does he have to leave the dais?
Yes.
Okay, well, can you make us some coffee in the meantime?
That was a very authoritarian yes, too.
Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem's left the dais, so he's recusing himself. Councilman Turan?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Wolf and Mr. Hummel for bringing this item forward. Just in a nutshell, just as a quick summary for the public, can we talk a little bit about this particular grant application and its intention to supplement what has already been awarded to Campus Park for development?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Mayor and council members, since Mayor Pro Tem is not in the dais. Michael Wolf, Director of Public Works. So this is a project, campus activation project, part of our CIP, and we actually split it up into 3 phases. We got an initial grant for phase 1, which is the activation process. And it's been a while since we've gotten that grant. We've been working on outreach, defining the improvements that the community wants to activate the campus park area, including additional phases. And as we are going through the design, we're about 90% done with the design for phase one. As you know, the cost of construction continues to increase. And there was quite a bit of demand for certain types of improvements to have it be at Campus Park. As we got into the final parts of the design, we got our latest construction estimate. The costs far exceed the actual amount of the original grant that was applied for multiple years ago. And so as we were working through this process, I had asked the team to look at other funding opportunities to sort of fill that gap, if you will. And this was an opportunity that presented itself in late November. I think it was like November 29th of last year, where this agency identified a grant opportunity. We had to evaluate it based on a couple other potential options. I think we looked at the skate park as being one of them, and Campus Park and a few other places that had to meet certain criteria. Took us a while to get through that process, and so we settled on applying for a one-to-one match, which is the requirement of this new grant. The good news is that our existing grant funds can be utilized as the match. There's not necessarily need to do a different funding source for that. So this will be an opportunity for us to try to fill that gap to construct the first phase of the activation project. And we list out some of the different amenities that are proposed, and I don't think that was part of your question, but they're listed in the staff report. I hope that answers that question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Just wanted a brief synopsis on what's in front of us and how the intention is to supplement the original grant funds through this, and including, as you mentioned, previous delays, but also the increase in construction costs. So thank you.
Right, and if I may add, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind,
go ahead.
I wanted to point out, we identified in the staff report, so we had to make a decision here with an opportunity to get funding to fill the gap, but also it requires us potentially to change the schedule a little bit. And I didn't touch on that, and probably a miss, so I will say it now. We felt like the opportunity to get $7 million is worth potentially modifying the schedule a little bit in order for us to actually construct this project. Otherwise, if we don't get this grant, we'll be looking at different funding sources that don't necessarily always come to fruition. So we did make a suggestion and a call at the staff level that this is a grant we should go after, even though it may modify the schedule a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the transparency on that. And I imagine that if this is approved by the council tonight, and the application goes forward and we are awarded ultimately, that the neighborhoods who have been key stakeholders in the development and monitoring of this grant for Campus Park would certainly appreciate being updated on that as time goes on and as the schedule is modified. So thank you.
And Michael, that was a question I was going to ask. What is the timeline for potentially completing this Campus Park?
So right now, currently, if we had all the funding available, I want to say it's about, the new estimate's about $12 to $13 million. If we had all the funding available, we're about 90% done with design. We get a permit through the Community Development Department to go ahead and build it. We can be bidding this project in a couple months and starting construction later this calendar year, if we had the funds.
Well, that's excellent, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have the funds.
But we need the money.
We need the money. So with that, the new funding source comes with additional requirements. No money for free, right? So the new requirements are that it's federal money, and so we would have to do what's called NEPA. So we have CEQA.
It's federal.
Correct. Okay. So we have the California Environmental Quality Act clearance. But if we do get federal money, we'd have to go through the NEPA, the federal one.
Does NEPA take as much time as CEQA?
So sometimes. The potential good news here is that we can get a categorical exemption if we already have CEQA clearance. So we've been working with the funding agency of options for us to streamline the NEPA process if we can. Obviously, we'll work with Jeff Pangeli's team to help us through that process. So if we get this funding, that notification comes, I believe, next year. Look at this calendar here. So we would know, the grant would be announced November of this calendar year, about 6 months to do the NEPA process. So we're talking about bidding it next calendar year, if
Okay.
all things align correctly.
And Michael, I know that we're talking about NEPA, CEQA. Can you give us a little definition of NEPA? 'Cause I know it's a federal, comparable to CEQA from California.
That's the definition. It's the environmental clearance process. It's the environmental clearance process on the federal level.
I just defined it.
You did. But the clear definition there is because the current funding source is only state, then we have
The
CEQA
CEQA,
clearance, right?
yeah.
The California clearance. If we get this funding source, it's federal, so that requires us to get the federal process, which is the NEPA.
Thank you so much for NEPA, CEQA. Okay, so we need a motion on this item.
I'll move the recommended action.
Moved by Turan and questioned by,
I'll second it.
seconded by, go ahead,
Just
question.
make a comment. I want to thank Public Works and the staff and Mr. Pengelly, your department's being headed, called out here to assist later we go down the road, and I know you'll do a good job. But in reading the newspapers recently, a lot of money was left on the table at the county in a various mental health issue. This one here, it looks like you're going after every opportunity to get any money on the table and leave nothing on the table that the city of Oxnard would be entitled to. My hat's off to you, and I hope the residents of the city understand the staff that we got hustling to try and make things work here. Because as mentioned earlier, on a question about Measure O, every dollar matters. And with the price of things going up, and I'll give an example. At the Ventura Regional Sanitation District, council member from the city of Ventura complained that the water project, which was $300,000, is now $500,000 because of increase in costs. And they're really complaining about that in Ventura. I'm grateful that we have some people looking after any money that we can have to cobble together. One thing I'm a little disappointed about is the residents that are continually harping on this project. I don't see anybody up here calling or showing up to give you a good job, attaboy, or kick us in the butt. It matters when people step up and speak up. And I think those residents can learn from the people that were in the audience at public comment this afternoon.
Thank you.
tonight. Thank you.
And thank you for the good work, Michael. Okay, we got a first by Councilman Turan, second by Councilman Perillo. Please vote. Okay,
Mayor, I have a motion by Councilmember Turan, a second by Councilmember Perillo,
yes, ma'am.
and a recusal by Mayor Pro Tem McDonald. Motion carries by a vote of 6-0-1. Thank you.
Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem, if the coffee's ready, come on out and join us. He's too comfortable. Okay. Okay, item number 7, Public Works. This is subject resolution and ratification of grant application for the California Extended Water, Wastewater Arrearage Program. The recommendation the City Council adopt a resolution for the ratification to submittal of a grant application for acceptance of a grant award from the California Water and Wastewater Arrearage Payment Program in the amount of $199,850.61 for delinquent water charges and $197,163.63 for delinquent wastewater charges related to COVID-19, which includes a 3% administrative cost, and to authorize the city manager to execute a grant agreement and the finance director or designee to submittal financial reports and grant claims and approve the budget appropriation for the use of the grant funds, and direct the public director or designee to submit 9 financial reports. This item did not originate in committee. It is an extension of a grant previously approved by the City Council, and we do have a Major M pre-recorded. We have Michael again for any questions. And before we continue, any speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
So the arrearage means that people that didn't pay, now we go back and try to recoup those dollars. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you recall, Mr. Mayor, this is a state program post-COVID that opened up an opportunity for us as a city who have utilities to get funding for folks that may be late or otherwise can't pay for their utilities. And so we went through that whole process. It's been a couple of years almost now. And we got notified late last year that there's still money on the table.
Okay.
And so we took a look at the amount of folks that still had outstanding balances, and we said, hey, we can go ahead and apply for this and give our ratepayers an opportunity to have these funds available to them if they need it. And so we submitted our application. We're asking the council to ratify that application.
This is for water and wastewater.
Correct, yes, sir.
Water. Okay, Councilmember Perrello?
Public Works Director Wolf, I see Mr. Luis Ortega is the management. Is that the gentleman sitting next to you?
That's correct.
Can
Mr.
you
Ortega.
introduce him? I mean,
Sure.
I've not recognized you.
I think he
appreciate
said
you coming,
before, Mr.
and I
Ortega,
appreciate the work on this item. Because as the Public Works Director said, we're not leaving nothing on the table.
No. Good evening, everyone, Mayor, council members. Yeah, so this is an extension to a program that we already took advantage of back in post-COVID. And it seems like forever ago, but here we are again. The state did have additional funding. And I do have some good news. I reached out to our contact at the water boards and said, hey, what are we looking in terms of getting the funding? And he said that there was 600 million available. And out of the 600 million available, there was only 444 million requested. So it sounds like we're going to get the money. We just have to wait for the check. But it is good news.
I have to say this, fellow councilman, I really appreciate what I heard. I live in a county of Ventura where they've done some things that haven't made sense to me, and when I hear this, there's this amount of money, and there's only this amount of request, it means, in my opinion, there are people that are not doing as good a work as my staff. It's not my staff, our staff is doing to look out for the residents. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ortega, thank you, and Michael, thank you. Good work, like the council member. We'll take it.
Yeah, there have been residents that call in and for the previous arrearage program, they called in and said, hey, I got a credit on my bill, literally in tears. They couldn't believe it. It's a couple $100s here and there for people, but that means a lot. So it's something that we definitely don't want to leave on the table.
That helps tremendously. Thank you, like the council
I want you to
member.
know that when you go home tonight, this council is greatly indebted for what you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need a motion on this
Move
item.
the recommended action.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilor Perrello. Please vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our last item is City Manager Department. This is approval of the ongoing Measure O projects. One new Measure O one-time project and a scope expansion without funding charges change in one existing Measure O project. And the recommendation is that the City Council, number one, approve the following new Measure O projects with associated ongoing funding. Measure O annual reporting printing, $28,000 annually. To approve the following new Measure O project with associated one-time funding. Radio infrastructure, $952,720. 3, authorize a budget appropriation in fiscal year 23-24 in the total amount of $980,720 for 2 projects identified above from the available Measure O 104 fund balance, as well as corresponding capital outlay 301 transfer and appropriation related to the radio infrastructure project. 4, approve a scope expansion of the existing Measure O Safe Home and Safe Families project with no additional funding is being requested. The Measure O Committee approved this item 8-0 on January 25th, 2024 to approve the staff recommendations and forward this item to the City Council. And this is a Major M pre-recorded item. And we have Sherry Klima for any additional questions. Do we have any speakers on this item? Madam Clerk?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay.
Mayor, Project Manager Annie Jensen did the report and is available to answer questions as well.
Adam, do we have Adam? You're not Adam.
No, I'm Annie Jensen.
I know.
Hi.
I know. I'm just
with-
kidding. Go ahead.
Not Adam today, but switched over to another A name. So Annie Jensen, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about any of these projects. And then as well, our three project managers for each of the individual proposed projects are here. So if you have any in-depth questions, our subject matter experts are present as well.
Okay, Councilman Perlum?
Thank you very much.
Mike?
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Number 2, the radio infrastructure one time. And it says, Oxnard's existing radio communication system does not meet the needs of the police department. And I know over the years that I've been here, and hello, Chief, these things continually get updated. And I know that it would probably be a conflict of interest, but when I read about these radio things, in my mind, I'm going, I should buy stock in these radio companies. Christ, we're buying radios, and it can't just be Oxnard. It's got to be a lot of other communities doing the same thing. Is there a standard that everybody meets and the standard doesn't change for a number of years on these radio needs?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am not Michael Wolf. Police Chief Jason Benitez. To answer your question, Councilmember Perello, there are standards that are set in the industry called P25 that refer to radio communications that look at best practices in terms of reliability and interoperability. So those standards do exist.
Do they update X number of years so that if we know that if we do it this year and we're in line with those standards, we don't have to worry about it for 5 years or 3 years or, God, 10 years?
Well, I'm not really a radio consultant, so in the industry, but I imagine that they do revisit those things periodically. I can't comment as to how often those are prescribed or how often they're updated. But different technologies come out that can conceivably change what those standards are.
Okay, thank you. I know that, and I've kidded with the chief and the fire chief. Also, when I first got on the council and there would be the radios, I used to think, do people lose them? And they're not losing them. They're expensive, they do wear out, and it's a matter of public health, safety, and welfare, and better put, life and death. You need to have the communications. So that's my question on that. I'd like to make a comment. I understand that Assistant City Treasurer Eden Amelia had a lot to do with some of these items on this agenda. And earlier, I made a comment about the potential of vacancy on the Measure O oversight. I just found out that there are 3 vacancies. So, general public, this is a big deal if there's an opportunity, and I want to thank all the people that are involved in doing this and working together, whether they're in the department or not in the department. But I appreciate that they gave me a heads up about this, and I'm sharing it with the public. And if you can add anything to that, I'd appreciate it. If not, it's okay. I'm done.
How many committee members do we have in Measure O?
At the moment, I'll have to check. We do have 3 vacancies.
3 vacancies. Is that much needed, Mr. City Manager?
We need a lot of volunteers for our commissions. and
So
boards.
for people that are listening, I think that's important. I think Council Perello made a good point that we need volunteers to help us out with Measure O. Okay, any other question? Any other speakers on this item?
Mayor Zaragoza, there's no public speakers for this item.
Okay, so we need a motion on this item?
Move the recommended action.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem,
I will second with a real quick item.
second by Councilor Turan, and go ahead.
Thank you. I know it was part of the discussion this evening regarding the mailing of, the annual mailing update to all residents about Measure O. And just so it's clear, that is taken from the Measure O funding to do that mailer. And it is, the voters said you must do this every year. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So in order to remain in compliance with what the voters directed the city to do, that's why that mailer goes out annually as a hard copy. I appreciate it because I like to have it to look at. And it's electronically available too if folks need it. But know that when it comes to Measure O, that annual update is available, hard copy and online. And everything we saw here tonight in the earlier item and this item in front of us is all very transparent about Measure O, what it goes towards and how we're using it. So thank you again, Ms. Jensen, and everyone
thank you.
involved.
And thank you to the committee for a good job. Thank you so much. So we got a first by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Turan. Please vote.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. That's the last item, and we are adjourned. Thank you.